I'm Mammewarku and this is Independent Voice, an interview with one of our prominent leaders, Mr. Obang Metho. The topic being the quest towards solidarity. Justice will not come to me until justice comes to everyone is the essence of solidarity. This is a space for independent thinking and independent dialogue. This is your space. This is my space. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning and welcome, Mr. Obang. Thank you so very much for being here today and agreeing to do this interview with me. I'm excited to actually have you on our program, so welcome. I would like to begin this interview by asking you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your involvement, what you do, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Obang Metho. I'm the Executive Director for an organization called Solidarity Movement for New Ethiopia. It's a social justice organization that works for the betterment of and advancing in the right of all Ethiopian peoples in Ethiopia. So this is an organization which is almost about close to 12 years now. And it's, as I said, it is focused on Ethiopia. And one of the key, we have almost three pillars. Number one is humanity before ethnicity or any other differences. Second is no one would be free until we are all free. Other thing is, for any society to live together, we need to start to talk to each other, not about each other. So this is one of the things that we are trying to do. So the goal was not purely documented the human rights, but really trying to respect the human dignity before a human right happens. So when this is to saying this thinking, the psyche of individuals and Ethiopian and non-Ethiopian to see the greater within each other, to see that each one of us are human being. By being a human being, we have responsibility to care, to nurture, to protect, to love, to support, to guide other person. And once you know that, to realize that your right as individuals, depend on other coexisting, is a key for survival. Human beings are a social being. We depend on each other from the day that we are born until the day that we die. So, and that meaning that no one will be free or justice will not come to one ethnic group or one group until it comes to all. And then saying that, to have a healthy society, you have to communicate with one another. And so that's why we say that let's talk to each other, not about each other. So this is the organization that the idea was really to change the way our look of how Ethiopians think about themselves, about their neighbors, about their country, about their continent, and about the humanity as well.
So, given what you just said, what do you say about what's going on in Ethiopia right now, the current situation?
The reason, actually, this is not just because not something that's happened by accident. The problem of Ethiopia is it's a country that people know historically evicting their neighbors because of their ethnicity, their religions. The politicians in the last 3 decades use the tribals to divide the peoples. And then what they planted is now reaching an harvesting time where most of the young Ethiopians forget their identity. Their identity become a tribe and their religion become a tribalism. And so this become an issue that I see, heading, to a collusion. It eventually will come to a chaos. Where I come from, where my ethnic and my family come from, is in a place called Gambela region, about 800 kilometers from Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia. And then December 13, 2003, there were a massacre that took place in there, targeting the Anuak, who are the very tiny ethnic groups, by the government, including some of the people who supported them. By that time, I tried to work. We were working with other people looking for a justice. But what I discovered is justice will never come to my own ethnic group until it comes to the rest of Ethiopia. And what I realized is the problem with Ethiopia, it is, it is a nationwide problem. It is an ethnic system. And that was introduced by what I call institutionalized tribalism. What we have in Ethiopia, it's a constitution that defines the people as nation, nationality, and people groups. Every country in the world, they say that we, the people of that country. It's only in Ethiopia that give a citizen a three, description or three identity: nation, nationality, people groups. We are also a country that where people live are, draw by tribal line or linguistic line. The group of Oromia regions, Amara regions, Tigray regions, and Afar region, and those things there. So what I find in Ethiopia is your tribe is being put on your ID card, and then Ethiopian in there will be targeted in the holy crime and one and only crime they have because of their ethnicity. And so when I realize that the justice will not come to the Anuak until it comes to Ethiopia, I say that the way to approach this is to make it a national, and then I reach out to other Ethiopian and say that let's create an institution. And that if you look at it, the name is solidarity, solidarity of the people and the individuals, not a solidarity of a tribe, a movement, not a political party, movement of the people. And then for new Ethiopia, a new thinking where we value our neighbor, where we value our humanity, where we embrace one another. And then that was the theme of the organization, because I knew back then, eventually, whatever you planted, it will grow. It will come to their harvesting time. If you grow love, it will come. But what was grown in Ethiopia was not the unity, not harmony, not peace, not equality, not diversity. What was done was a false, narrow-minded politician who couldn't see beyond themselves. And what they planted to control the people, to run the country, is a tribalism. And so tribalism, then I knew that eventually when it reaches the maturity, it's going to explode and will cause chaos. And that's why we set up this organization almost 13 years ago. Here we are today, we are talking about that. I think what was planted, you harvest what you grow. Right now, tribalism, that which was planted, now you see Ethiopian harvesting it by not saying in a good way. You're seeing Ethiopian dying based on their ethnicity, which was unthinkable 200 years ago, unthinkable 300 years ago. Ethiopia intermarried one another to keep each other together. But today, Ethiopians are divorcing each other to destroy each other.
Wow, that's really powerful. I know you just said that many, many years ago, this was unthinkable of any one of us. This is it's just not something that Ethiopia you would think would experience. But we're here, we're seeing it. What do you think got us here?
I think what it is again, I say that the countries that depend on the leadership. Leader does matters. Leaders like a car drivers. A car driver, the passenger don't really have that much. You can tell them to slow down, you will speed. You can tell them to, to go right, you can go left. The driver who hold the wheel is the one that by that time there were some Ethiopian that who really didn't believe in Ethiopianness, or the all they want was really they were consumed with the historically, or they have a problem within themselves and thinking that, usually I use this analogy that a mothers can, whenever she bear the kids, every one of them that come from the wounds are beautiful kids. But eventually out of those kids, one of them will turn out to be the worst that can even destroy that family. So in case that the Ethiopia as a mother has produced many Ethiopian, but some Ethiopian that who really wanted to destroy that family for their own ego, for their narrow-minded self-esteem. So Ethiopian who believe not in unity, not in harmony, not in equality, not in really saying that, let's live to the past or let's learn from the past and create something for a better future. Those kind of, people who are opposite of that manage to be the driver's side. And so they drove us to the wrong place. And they drove us to really a place of destruction. And so they introduced this constitution, which I say, they call ethnic federalism, but what I call ethnic, tribalism. So it is a tribalism system. And if you look at it in reality, even those people who are watching, listening to me, who are non-Ethiopian, definitely this is worse than apartheid. Let me say why. Because if you are someone from Europe, you live in America. If you are in Ethiopia, you would be told to go back where you come from. If you are someone living here and you wanted to go and run for office, in Ethiopia, there's some place, if you are not from that ethnic group, you cannot vote in that area, or you cannot be voted for a leadership. It's a group thinking, a group mentality system. And that system, it is anti-harmony, anti-humanity, anti-togetherness, anti-living together in a way. So these systems were brought in by these narrow-minded politician. Even it's not Ethiopian. The idea is, really a comment was adopted by, from Albania. So how we got here? We got here by the leaders that are narrow-minded leaders who cannot see, people who are full of victimhood, people who wanted to destroy of today because of the crime or injustice of 200 years ago. Those they lead them to the history and teach ourselves to work. You cannot live on the past. But those people make us live on the past. By living on the past, then it come back to the point where we brainwash our children. So we have a children today who are consumed, filled with hatred. Their identity is their tribalism, not a citizen. They don't know what a citizen means. There's this portrait where they believe that in Ethiopian flag is is belong to one tribe. Ethiopian name is belong to one tribe. Ethiopian language is belong to one tribe. So they made it that by being an Ethiopian, that meaning that you are a carrier to that particular group, which is absolutely wrong. So that's what I mean, that America that used to be a place that where black people, a man like me will be in just my only crime because I'm a darker skin color. Today they live together in a way that even a black man, a mixed black man can be elected to be a president of the United States. In Ethiopia, this is not the case. If you look at it, most of the people who are dying, from your regions, they've been killed. These are not a politician. People who have known that, people who have barefoot people like children who have known the holy crime to them was somebody called them, they were of Amara origin, or they called them, you come from somewhere, you are, Safari, or, settlers, go back to where the Ethiopian who live in the West, no one will ever call us, we are settlers.
That really is interesting. And you did mention very powerful things. And I want to go back to that and pick up maybe a couple of things. So you compared some of the things, some of the issues that we're facing right now that we see happening in Ethiopia to an apartheid. That's pretty strong.
Worse than apartheid.
Yeah, worse than apartheid is what you said. And you also talked about this group mentality. Let's go back and talk a little bit about that. What do you mean by that? Give an example of how do you see it to be worse than apartheid? It's almost like a mob mentality. What is a good example that you see right now? Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, why I say apartheid, you look at apartheid was black people versus the white people against black people. In these places, black people against black people themselves, or even the tribes against one another. And then the idea here is we go to the point where the apartheid will know by your skin color and say that is black. But in this case, we even go to your name, your last name on the ID. In Ethiopia, because of the father name is put there, sometimes the name go by ethnicity. That individual will be saying that he belong to that tribe. Where his dad come from? Because his dad last name is. And then he will suffer consequence for a tribe he doesn't know, or somewhere he's never been. That is it go deep when I say that worse than apartheid. And ethnicity is become injera. Injera is the bread the Ethiopian eat. By belonging to that ethnic groups, you can get access to job opportunity even if you are not educated. Uneducated, dumb individual will get higher post because of his ethnic groups is in power. So the people who are qualified to do the job will not do the job because they are of the wrong ethnicities. And not only that, and that wrong ethnicity, even if they are not qualified, they are qualified to be killed because they belong to a wrong ethnicity. So the group mentality that you commit the crime and then you group together, boom together. But again, the other thing is they want to use it both ways to deceive the people. They will say that, yeah, we are good, we are united when you are in charge. But the other people say we are not united. So that's what I mean by the group mentality is very dangerous. So to me, when I talk about the apartheid system, it was done in a way that those people to control and kind of know the line. But these things go deeper than that. Like in Ethiopia, there's some part of the regions where you are not allowed to vote. In America today, people are fighting about the voting system. In your own country, you're not allowed to vote, not because of your skin color, because of your tribe or your last name. We have none of us, we are not sure 100%. Like for me, people say I come from the Anuak ethnic group. I am not sure of that ethnic group. 10 generations may be mixed with other tribes. It's so deep that it's the most primitive and backward and savage attitude, and it is unhealthy in the 21st century. And that group of thinking, it is what's destroying us. Our identity should be us who will say it. I say I'm Obang because that's the name I know was given to me as a kid. If I say something now, William, at the age, this doesn't go that way. So we have in a country where they say that, okay, your tribe is this. And a government official or someone from the government will tell you that. So that's why I say that this group mentality is not only has an experiment which is so dangerous. It was tried in Yugoslavia.
Mm.
We know what happened in Yugoslavia. It was tried in Rwanda, and we know why it worked in Rwanda. That's why in the whole world you don't have any country that structure the government based on ethnicity. Not just because the people don't want it, because it's very dangerous. It can destroy the country, it can destroy the people, it can destroy a human life.
Interesting. So it didn't work anywhere else. Why do we think it would work for us? It is very profound to hear you say ethnicism or this tribalism has become bread and butter for a long time. So it's either you want to use that because you believe it helps you, it's going to give you something. So if something is going to benefit you, of course, you're going to try and benefit from it, correct?
Exactly.
And I'm just going to circle back again about this whole group mentality, because it is harmful. It never worked anywhere else, and I don't know why we would think it would work for us. And in one area that I would like for you maybe to expand on is also a group mentality when one just follows for the sake of following. It's just like this mob mentality, no question asked, because somebody said so, or somebody I believe, somebody I look up to, or somebody I consider to be a leader. You know, you heard something, it sounds good, or everybody's doing it, I'm just going to go follow. That side also, to me, is very dangerous. It's very treacherous, actually. How do you see that is happening in the country, or do you see that happening?
No, it's, as you put it very well. Most of our society and our community are not educated. And they're also being made by intentional. If you look at it, imagine the education system in Ethiopia was better in the 1950s during Haile Selassie was in president today. We produce these young peoples, and we don't give them the best education. Critical thinking is not there, and this idea of looking hard work is not there. Then they try to keep the people, the younger people, illiterate, who don't think, because if you know your political right, you will question. So this group mentality, people who brought this system, they made that. And then you have these young people who have a role model. Their role model is an ethnocentric individuals who say that those tribes is your enemy. And these people also, that they thrive on using false history, false identity, using intergenerational grievances. Something happened to my grandfather, grandfather 100 years ago. And those guys of today have to pay for it. But as a society, we should accept that if there's something done, let's talk about it and reconcile and move forward. But the group mentality, they use that as, like a guinea pig. They use that opportunity to go and tell their young people, those tribes did this to you. The grandfather of those kids did this to you. So they create these, brainwash these young people and give them false identity, narrow-minded identity, something that really not created. And those kids take it. So then by then, these people become, they are followers. As I say that they don't read, they are uneducated. And so what happened is their identity become the identity of their tribe, the tribe of their leaders. And that why it's so dangerous, because you see these young people who are supposed to be working together, loving one another, intermarriage one another, live on for, make their country a better place, for all of them. They are being left into tribal box until their country can become a bigger country, not a better country.
Very easy to be manipulated.
It's because uneducated people who don't know their right, uneducated person can defend themselves. So this is the kind of formula that has been used for a divide and conquer. But at the end of the day, usually it will not work, because the foundation is based on deception, based on lie, based on the darkness. Is not going to survive. Eventually will destroy those people who started themselves.
So let's go back to, I know you've said quite a bit, and I'm really impressed in how in depth you could see from where we started, where we're at with the SMNE work that you do. And how do you see yourself work towards bringing solidarity? Because lately it just doesn't seem to be there, and or solidarity as Ethiopians is just being challenged more than any time I know. How do you plan? What do you think you're going to do? And how do you think What do you think will help you get there?
It is very, very difficult to do it. And what I hope thing that will get me there is an open mind and soft hearted, and clear conscience. So as long as, we have those people who are open minded, willing to learn, people who are compassionate, people who are, really care. And to me, I thought before, and as I say that, when I look at it, now some of the people will say that, oh, these guys said it 11 years ago, and it's the same thing now, it's becoming truth. Because I seen where we were born.
Mhm.
And I know that the solution to it is an education, to educate our people, to empower our people.
Mhm.
Because once they know, and that's why I say, I always say that, Ethiopia, let's, talk to trust each other. Once we build trust, we can think of working together. Once we start working together, we can think of building a country. Once we think of building a country, we can be able to become exemplary to others. And so in this case, then solidarity, when I say that, it was the not again the solidarity of a tribe. It's a solidarity of individual thinking. We are made of individuals. When I was born, I'm just a simple human being. And to differentiate me with the neighbors and other people there, my mom named me that, I'm Obang. So when I leave that town to that village and go to the place where there are a bigger group, to differentiate me with other people, another identity I got it. To differentiate with me with other, I was called Ubang. When I left to the third town, that village where there's more tribe, I was called Ubang, who's an Anuak, because then I can be differentiated. And then from there, then when I left and went to Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia, I was called Ubang from Gambela. And when I left Gambela and went to Canada, Ubang Ethiopian or Ubang Africa or Ubang the black guy. From that little tiny village to the Western world where I went, if there's one identity I didn't left back, is I'm a human being.
Mhm.
Ubang was put on the soul of a human being. Anuak is on the soul of on the human being. Gambela is on a human being. Ethiopia is a human being. Canada, when I get there, it's a human being. So one thing that I can never leave back is my humanity. So I was thinking that there's many young people who really don't know, and we have to teach them. We have to educate them.
Mhm.
We have to cleanse them from this tribal thinking, that clean them in a way. So when change come to Ethiopia, when like in 2018, when the new prime minister came, he actually talked what everybody wants to hear. We are Ethiopian when we are born Ethiopian, when we live Ethiopian, when we die Ethiopian. The things that which is the previous leaders don't even want to mention in name Ethiopia. They want to abuse Ethiopia in using like just taking what's good from Ethiopia.
Mhm.
Just like men who are, abusive, they don't want the girl, but they want to go to the, use the girl to get the pleasure from them. So the leader before, they want to get the pleasure from Ethiopia, but they really didn't care about it. And so Ethiopian know that. And when this new leader came in and he said, when we are born Ethiopian, when we live Ethiopian, when we die Ethiopian, the Ethiopian in us that which was, dormant, it risen from there, and people went back. And so when I went back also, then my goal was to go to college and teach these young people and tell them that you are not only the children today, the student of the today, you are the leader of tomorrow. Deal with the problem now. Whenever you see another kid beside you, know that you are seeing with yourself. What makes us one is not our skin color, because we don't look the same. It's not our language, because we don't speak the same language. It's not our religion, because we don't worship. What makes us one is the land that we are all living in. We are under the same roof, that the sky that over Ethiopia. We are one family. I try to get these to the younger people to see it, that what, you are brothers and sisters to one another. So I end up going to almost more than 16 university, talking to the young kids, and some of the kids were so fascinated. They never heard this. They say, all we know was our tribe, and I say, you are more than a tribe. When I was living in Saskatchewan, where parts of the Canada where there's not many people, my tribe doesn't exist. I'm a human being.
Mm.
One race, we are a human race. And I also thought that the solution to our country is reconciliation. We need to reconcile not only with ourselves, we need even to reconcile with our land. So many people have died. So much blood has been spilled. So much tear has been shed. So many people have suffered there for just a short-sighted life or just narrow-minded politics. And so I thought that reconciliation would be a key. But now, what's happening, it seems to be things are getting worse than better. And so it makes the job very difficult. But again, we cannot give up on our future. We cannot give up, live alone on our lives, but the life of our future. So in that case, as difficult as it is, we still have to do the very best we can. And one thing I find is that this work cannot be left to prime minister, to a politician. Every Ethiopian has to do their share and contribute. And so this usually recently I've been telling the Ethiopian that all of us know one of the things that the COVID taught us, coronavirus, was that whether you are rich or you are poor,
Yeah.
we are all equal.
Yeah.
At that time when they say let's go home, stay indoors. Those who are living in mansion, stay in mansion. Those who are living in a cage, they go to the cage. Those who live in a hut, they live in a hut. By that time, then the COVID made it impossible for people, to be together. They made it almost impossible for people, to breathe. They made it almost impossible for people to visit each other. They made it impossible for people to live as a family, as a human being. What we used to know, being in the same car, being with the family, having party together, being in a train, being in a bus. So the COVID made it impossible. But from that minute on, there were people who were working day and night to find a vaccine or to find a cure. Eventually, we did get a cure. The same thing, we have the COVID in Ethiopia, a tribalism COVID. We have the virus that really making us not live together, making us kill each other, and making us lose our job, making us lose our home, making us run away from our place, all we ever know, making us, having our family member buried without us being there. We have the COVID of tribalism in Ethiopia. What's part of it is we don't see anyone working day and night to find a cure for a tribalism in Ethiopia. So it is very difficult time.
That's a very interesting analogy, attaching tribalism to what COVID did. It's interesting how you attached it. Yeah, it separated everyone. People didn't have any choice but to live together. If you happen to be a family, you're supposed to be together and you're supposed to look out for one another.
But the COVID say that no,
the nucleus of the family, you're staying together, and you're by caring for yourself, you're caring for others. That's what I'm trying to get at. So with COVID, the face covering and the protection, all the different things that we do, it's not necessarily to keep yourself safe from or protect yourself from others. You're protecting others from yourself. That's the reverse. COVID, like the mask and everything we do, it's not just to keep myself safe, but it's to keep the other person safe.
To protect that, when I was in Ethiopia, and it was, when the COVID came, and we were trying to do this, and then one of the things I did was I had this mask slogan where I said that my mask is not to protect me, my mask is to protect you. Mm-hmm. Your mask is to protect you. Mm-hmm. So in other words, there are people who work to find a mask while they're looking for a solution. We have not really found a mask. And to me, the mask now is teaching about the humanity, teaching about love, teaching about respecting one another, being, humble, being compassionate, being caring, being forgiving, looking at a bigger picture. That is the mask. It can save us for time being until we find a cure that will bring this data.
Why do you think, or what do you think caused us to be at the point where people are just not interested in wearing that mask figuratively? And I don't mean just for COVID, but to be a protector of others. What happened? We just don't see the person as a person first. How did we get here? I know we keep saying, how did we get here? But also talk about how are we going to really bring that back, seeing a person before they see that the race, the ethnicity, or the tribe. How do we get to the point where we're seeing the person?
It is the failure of the system, the government, the politician, the constitution, the institution. Because we've seen the problem, and those who are supposed to deal with it, they pretend it's not there. Mm-hmm. So people pretend that this problem in Ethiopia doesn't exist. To the point that people are dying in again and again and again, leave alone, people don't want to, even the politician, the leader don't want to show their condolence. They don't say that, whoever did it will be brought to justice. From now on, nothing will happen. People accepted it because the solution was never being looked for. So we got here because we, usually even in a community, those who have children, there are people that children listen to. When they run around up and down and stare and this thing, there's someone who says, stop it, and they will stop. A government is like that. But what we have is we have a tribal leaders, not a citizens leaders, not a country leaders, not a human being life leaders. We cry for our tribe, but no one crying for a human being or no one crying for citizenship. So in that case, we got in here because those who are supposed to take the responsibility and bringing people together on a table, not on pretension. Pretending is the worst thing that you can do. Knowing deep in your mind what you're doing is wrong. You are not deceiving that person. You are also deceiving yourself. A deception on a country is a deception on your children and grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So the failure of the politician not to deal with this when it is there is why we get it. We need to come to realize that Ethiopia is not a new country.
Mm-hmm.
It's a country of ancient country.
Mm-hmm.
We live together. The blood that flew our veins is not the blood of our tribe. It's the blood of Ethiopian people, a blood of human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But our leader failed to come and tell us to sit on a table. We have so many things in Ethiopian culture that make us unique. When someone passes away, we set up a tent to go and say farewell. All the neighborhood will come into that tents.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit in a tent, there's no VIP, there's no class, anyone sit wherever they are. In Ethiopia, we drink coffee with a little cup. That coffee, we sit in circles. The cup has no name on it, no tribe name on it, there's no color on it. In Ethiopia, when we eat, one thing unique with the foods, as a sign of love and reconciling and caring, we give gursha to another person.
Mm-hmm.
People on a human being, when you give a food to another person or animal, you meaning you care for them. We give food to others. In Ethiopia, when we eat our food, we put in a tray, in a circle. The food is in circles. You can take from whichever side of the tray. There's no boundary.
Mm-hmm.
All these things are something that kept us together. But now we are not mentioning that. We are not living with that. And so that's why we got where we are. We abandoned some of the real value that kept us for generation and bring up a new foreigner value, which is really destroying.
So talk about that foreigner value. So what is that foreign thing? What are the things that actually happened for Ethiopia to really abandon what used to be so precious, so valuable? You break, that injera together. You break bread together, and that's a bond that you will have for a long, long time. People used to talk about, once you eat a meal or once you share a meal, you just bonded because you just don't eat or you don't break a bread with somebody that you consider to be an enemy. So what is this foreign thing?
The foreign thing is one thing I could see that it started with, in the 1960s, the communist system. The communist system at that time, the Ethiopian of that, the younger Ethiopian, they're looking for something, new and vibrant. And this idea where sometimes, you abandon what you had and you think other person is better. The system of the communists or the capitalists on the West, we view that this is how it's best. We brought this Marcus Lenin, and I remember when we were a kid on the wall, we have the picture of this Marcus Lenin, this white man with a beard. What is that man doing? And I remember asking kid when I asking my teachers when I was in grade 4, how come? What is this white guy on the cement on the wall? And he said that he's a philosopher. What is a philosopher? I was a kid. He said he's a thinker. What is he doing here? So yeah, he thinks, and I say, what is he thinking for us? So in other words, we have those Ethiopian back then really thought that the communists is a new way of thinking, a new way that can help them. But instead of using what they have, they abandoned everything and adopted that. And that is foreigner thinking. And then now come to the point of the communists contributing it, the capitals where people are becoming so selfish. You want everything for you. Me, 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 me. When our culture was us. The food is us. We eat in a circle. We drink together. The tent is us. We mourn somebody died together. The birth of a child is us. We sit together to welcome their new kid, to name the kid. The farming is us. We go and farm and talk together. The women go together, talk to each other. Cooking food is us. Everything we have is part of us. We have this culture which is individualistic, it's me, me, me. And that combined carry a greed to get ahead, to get money, to get power, to do this, then you have to go there. And so those values, we lost them because we adopt something which is not us. This is an idea and thinking. I'm not saying that there's some good part of those things that could be taken away. If you look at some of the Asian countries. The Asian countries, they have their value, their religion. They kept those and they maintain. They took what they can, like a technology, and they go together. But for us, we have this where we see an outsider, we worship them as if they are better than us. God didn't create 99.9% human being. God created all of us equals. And when you put yourself down, other person will put you down. If you don't respect yourself, someone else will definitely. As I always tell the people, if you don't eat your lunch, someone else will eat it for you. So we got where we are, again, because of the leaders. The intellectuals, the elite, the educated, the people we thought that wanted to lead us. They took us the wrong path. They said that there's a forking of the road. You see a road coming and then which one you take? We took the wrong path. And that path has become a path that is leading us to a destruction. And that's why we come into this, what I told you before, eating together, living together. In our culture, in one hut, 4 people live there. Everything with us is togetherness. And that was, you can call it as a part of a tribalism brought and take that away. Because when you join and live together with your tribe, even within your tribe also that you will be divided. The one want to have more, the one want to have less. So the cycle will just go on. You started like from Ethiopia. Some people say we are not Ethiopian, so that they are tribes, so they can get the benefit. And then they go to their tribe. When they go there, some of the tribe who are higher class or within them say that they are less. And then they go back from the country to the region, from region to district, from the district to the county, from the county to Kabale. So these kind of people who do this, they didn't think ahead. They didn't think bigger. They didn't think out of the box. So that's why we get where we are.
Let me circle back a couple questions and we'll wrap this up. Inviting this foreign concept, individualistic concept is what got us here. We've always been a close-knit communities. We lived together, we ate together, we grew up together. The bond used to be really strong. And that kind of eroded to being into this whole tribal system, this foreign concept, individualistic concept, or to get ahead, to be better, to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. I believe there is also a foreign concept that we have to attribute some of this to, which is technology. We've invited technology to no end. I think as much as the rest of the world has already immersed in it and has seen the fruits of it, sometimes I feel like in Ethiopia, we're just now seeing the fruit of that. Experiences, different lifestyles, whatever it is that technology brought into us. We just embraced it with no question. Do you consider that to be one of those foreign things that we've introduced without necessarily considering the consequence or preparing ourselves to protect what we have?
Yes, definitely we are part of the global society. Part of global society in a way that you get a high phone here, you get a high phone in Ethiopia. I am here, or someone in Ethiopia tomorrow will be in Los Angeles or some place. We live in a world now that's so connected. That world definitely will change us one way or another. But when we talk about the technology, there's a way of using technology in a right way, but there's a way of using it in a wrong. If you look at it in Ethiopia, the way we tilt our land, and I try to remind the young people, listen, here we are in the 21st century. Most of the country fed their peoples because they use these giant combine. 200 hectares can be cleared within few hours. And they use the technology to feed themselves. They use the technology to drink the clean water. They use the technology, not a single woman, even very few die because at the birth. They're using technology to get a life. They're using technology to educate their young people from home. They use technology for everything to betterment their life. But if you come to some places like our country, most of our, almost 76% of our schools in Ethiopia don't have electricity. 72% of our hospitals and health centers doesn't have electricity. Most of our people don't have clean water. But with all this technology we have, this tribalism or this narrow-minded, short-sighted kept us from grabbing that and reaching into that. And one of the things, for example, in our country, in Ethiopia, the farmers we use traditional way to feed ourselves. 2 cows, walking within being hit by the person that to till the land. We use the cows to till the land to feed ourselves. The ancient way, but we use the technology to destroy ourselves. AK-47, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So we use these things that will destroy us, and instead of using the thing that really can advance us. So like, for example, some farmers who have nothing barefoot will have a gun. And then someone who have nothing will go on a Facebook and use the Facebook and say, that tribe is not good, wipe them out, kill them, and this. We use the technology to destroy ourselves and then use the ancient time to kind of maintain, to sustain our lives. So some way, somehow, technology definitely, we didn't even grab it that way. Again, I go back, I blame. We are look at it, at some point, Ethiopia was much more better off. It was much more ahead of South Korea in the 1950s. There's many countries that Ethiopia had a telecommunication. Ethiopia even had a train station during, even during the Menelik time, before some of the European countries had it. But our leaders are responsible. So the technology we have now, no one can live in the darkness. It's a technology you and I can communicate like this. Something was unthinkable yesterday. But instead of teaching our young people, our generation, for one and foremost, to love themselves, to respect themselves, to care about themselves, to respect their neighbor, to be proud citizens, to care about Ethiopia, to really be a good citizens, a good human being. We fail to do that. Human beings are good, but they can also be worse. There are some people who are ready to exploit it. Those who don't know their right, those who want to be exploited. So those and outsiders who have this technology, the human greediness, wanting to keep that country, keep the people dumb, uneducated, not to compete so we can go and take their resource. Make Ethiopia a place that with plenty of waters and rains and people cannot feed themselves. I always say, for example, in Arab country, it rains only maybe once a year. In Ethiopia, now is a place where it can rain 10 times a day. We don't have water to drink. We don't have electricity. We don't have food to feed ourselves. And instead of focusing to do that, to build that, the tribalism make us to be thinking the opposite. And then the other people will come and take that advantage and take the opportunity and then be able to exploit it. People who don't want to get ahead. And that's what I mean that, like, for example, the education system in Ethiopia is just horrible. I met some young people who are graduating from university. They cannot even communicate. They cannot even write. And then I met even some of the people who are running the countries who went and bought the degrees. We have fake doctors. That itself is a crime. You are creating a doctor who never really practiced. Tomorrow, when you go to operation bed, they will kill you. You are giving graduating engineers that who really never know how to do. Tomorrow, the building is going to build will collapse, or the road or the bridge will collapse. We are playing with ourselves, lying to ourselves, misleading ourselves, deceiving ourselves. So this is where we come in. So the technology, we could use it, as I said, like other countries use it. But again, it go back to what I say earlier. A country doesn't have a really good leaders. Not a leader who want to tell what people want to hear, but a leader who will do what people want to see. So in that case, that is the problem. This technology, we will not benefit from it As long as we are being led by these narrow-minded tribal who think like a caveman, the tribal was used for a long time ago, so hunting and gathering. It doesn't work that anymore. The world will benefit and they will move. If you look at it, for example, I say that we have 3,000 year history of the country. Some of the things that the horrible things that are going on in our country, it doesn't happen in our neighbors, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Kenya. No one say that you are Methi or Safari or settler, get out from here. You don't hear that. We were a more kind of greater country where we lived together longer before that. Right. So that's what I mean by that. The technology is there. It can advance us. The technology also can destroy the human being as well. So, but this technology of feeding ourselves, clothing ourselves, having light for ourselves, making our life to be improving, that is technologies is being denied by us as a country, not by outsiders, by our narrow-minded thinking, by those who are.
So we come back again and again to who's leading. Leadership.
Leadership is a very key.
Leadership is the key. And I'm going to ask you a question about leadership. So we have formal leaders that are actually named leaders. They lead a country. We have leaders in organizations, and we, to some degree, are leaders of our own lives too. And in the olden days, let's say our parents' generation and maybe prior to them, we also had informal leaders. They may not have been named leaders, but in their villages, in their towns, in the places that they lived, they were considered leaders. And they led in the way that they knew how, correct? I have to be a leader of my life. You have to be a leader of your life. And then we have leaders that are actually named leaders. In the past, those informal leaders also led a neighborhood, led a city, a village, a family. And the difference, I think, is at that point, everybody listened. I'm trying to get at to the whole, looking up to the elders and listening to what they have to say, whether they were named with specific titles and whatnot. We come back to leaders. So leaders will lead one way or another. We have no formal leaders, and then we have informal leaders. Sometimes it feels as though the informal leaders influence a lot more than the formal leaders. What do you say about that?
Yes, definitely. I think that one of the things you mentioned very good. Even like, when I grew up as a kid, if you did something wrong, someone else will punish you. It doesn't have to be your dad or your mom. Mm-hmm. So, you did something wrong, someone will whip you and, beat you up, and elders. We also respected elders. Elders was, the people where we get wisdom from them, people who will tell us between the wrong and right. The elders, from the elder who are really the people with the gray hair to someone who's above. We respect it. We don't curse our mothers. We don't curse our fathers. We don't curse our brothers or our sisters. That is the fabric of who we are. You have a responsibility. But that responsibility, that it comes from the people on the top, the villages. Like the way, people live in the West, and white people take it. In Africa, it take a village to raise a child. Right. Because the sign of a symbol of a leadership. Mm-hmm. So that fabric has break down now. And then the failure to do that, even for us, we are known for, religious, spiritual leaders we have in Ethiopia. Some of them are not. They really, don't worship God. They worship money. They don't live up to responsibility. We have what they call prophets. We have so many prophets. The prophecy of just not living together in harmony. That leadership has failed. The younger people don't have a role model to say that when you're grown up, you want to be like this. The religious leader fails. The younger people fail. The women that really also that fail. By being an educator, you distance yourself from those uneducated. People even went to the point where they think that being a farmer is the backward and the primitive thinking. But in America, the richest people are the farmers, because without farmers, no food. So we have these where we don't talk to each other. We don't educate each other. Who we are, we adopt the other way of living. Even like some younger people, they want to act, in a way that which is not us. So the formal leaders, then people kind of leave it to them, like the leaders who really don't care. They are top there and they are running the country. They really don't go down to the people and talk. We don't have those kind of things. Critical thinking, discussion, a dialogue, a meaningful dialogue to talk about where we want to go as a people, as a country. We don't have that. So we become a group of people that the formal leader doesn't do the work, the other group don't be. But it go back to that, as you put it, we have a responsibility. By being a human being, we hold a debt. Being born a human being itself is a responsibility. That responsibility starts with yourself. Awareness is a leadership. So for us, then, that consciousness, we do not use it. So the formal and informal leaders, it detached from each other. We have these people, we call it the leader, or prime minister, or leader, or the district. But those people don't even go and talk to the people. They are not being wholly accountable by the people. You have some leader, like, for example, the guy who ran Ethiopia, he used to be the prime minister of Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi. He was a leader, I think, when he died, almost 23 years in power, or 22 years in power. He never went to Gambela region, where I come from, once. Because he's not wholly accountable. Can you imagine having an American president never went to California once? Impossible. So these are the kind of things that these leaders, we worship them, or sometimes then they think that they are a leader. If they don't hear what I am going, do we have a clean water? Is our school leaking? Is our young children having a clean water at school? We don't have that. So when those people fail, then the ongoing killing, bickering, and the down is the result of that. So all these bloodshed going on in Ethiopia, it was not done by the local people. These people, they are still into marriage as it is today. Some of them even die not knowing what they died for. But that is work from the top of the leadership. Those top of the leaders fail to do their job and reach out to the local people. Lawlessness. And this created chaos, anarchy, and just, craziness. So the key thing is these politicians, those religious leaders, intellectual, business leaders, women, children, youth, every one of them, they had to be somehow come to the point of knowing their responsibility. That we need each other. The only thing we ever had is each other. There's nothing more. And so the failure not to address that and deal with that is one of the problems that why we don't. Why we are where we are.
Bottom line, so to wrap this up, really, we all are leaders, one way or another. We do have leaders, named leaders, and they do need to really take the space that they are in.
They have to be wholly accountable too. They have to be wholly accountable for what is that, but also that we have to do for where we have to do our job and not wait for those people, because we're waiting for someone who will never come.
So I think based on what we just talked about, leadership starts from taking responsibility for self, being a leader of one's own life, and then being a leader so that one other person can see and find a role model. Because you talked about also the fact that we don't necessarily have role models that we can look up to and become leaders. Anyone can become a leader, and we don't necessarily have to be sitting in an office and being named a leader, but I think anybody can be a leader. We can lead a person, which is self to begin with, and then we can lead others. We can be leader of our own families. We can be leaders of whatever space that we feel in. I think that leadership plays a role in every one of us. There is that responsibility and there is that obligation, as you put it, in so many different ways. But the corrosion comes from so many different things: loss of value, loss of understanding, loss of interest, education, and like I said, opening up to a foreign concept which in a way is meant to bring good, but not being able to decipher the bad from the good has also eroded some of the values and the traditions that we held so close to our hearts and made us who we were for the longest time. I think it has something to do, but we come to the conclusion of this conversation today in saying leadership matters. We all are leaders. We also have the responsibility and the obligation to lead. When it comes to our responsibility, I believe in this time, in this generation, what we need to do is what you were talking about altogether. Be a person first.
Yeah.
Be a human.
Be a responsible human being. Yes.
Yeah, be a human first, because that other thing that you're dying for, you're losing your mind for, doesn't equate to being a person, a human. Because if you take away the name, if you take away the title, even take away the leadership, whatever persona, that person comes down to being a human. However imperfect, human in the end. We all are human. And I think it sounds so simplistic, but it's very profound because we were created humans to begin with. And what is changing that today? This has been a really interesting conversation, Mr. Obang. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I hope we get to do some more because there are some questions that I like to ask you. I did not want to really mix up a whole lot of questions in this conversation because there is so much that is coming from you as a person, as you put it, as a human being, your passion for being humans first. I didn't want to take away from that, and that's how come I didn't necessarily mix it up. This was really, really amazing and very profound. And thank you for being who you are and helping us see, all of us, that we are humans first.
Thank you so much, because every one of this is, we all know it is within us, but really just for us to go and discover it. This is an African. The African have saying, the West African and South African have something called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means that I exist because of you, and you exist because of me. And the Ubuntu is a very big concept. It doesn't go together with the Western and white people. The Western white people idea say that I am who I am, therefore I am. But Africans say that I am who I am because of
you. What a difference. And that's what we lost. That we allow that to just go away. That's a profound thing to have. I exist because of you and not because I am who I am and therefore I am what I am. Me, myself, and I together are just going to go all together in good, bad, or indifference.
That's why we need to educate our people to know that it's a simple thing. It is, you don't need a rocket science.
Right.
There's no way that, look how long it takes for a human being to be a self-reliant. A child from the day that is born, any other animal can be born, and then they can survive when the mother dies. A human being born with no other human being will not survive.
Right.
In that meaning that God made that your survival depends on another fellow human.
Right. Right.
You need a human being to be alive. That is a giving. And so that's the simple, when the African say that, Ubuntu, that's exactly the concept of Africa. Look how much the kid, how long it will take to sit, how long it will take to crawl, how long it takes to walk, how long it takes to be responsible in a Western 18 months, 18 years for a human being to be a self-independent so they can be allowed to go. For animals, sometimes it's 18 minutes, 18 seconds, the mother will leave them from the time they come from the womb. So that is something that we have within ourselves. But the bigger responsibility that we are more than a tribe. We are more than a skin color. We are more than a religion. We are more than all of these things. But above all, also that, that carry a responsibility.
So when we value life first and not devalue life, when I see you, you see me, I see you, meaning it's recognizing someone in saying that. So when we value life, I think it would be difficult for somebody to destroy life.
Absolutely.
When you desensitize yourself and don't feel that other person you just did that to isn't a person because it's just a name other than yours, then it becomes easier for somebody to go out there and destroy life.
That person, keep in mind, that person lost their humanity.
Exactly.
Someone who lost his humanity or her humanity can take away, because you become a mechanical being.
Yes.
You become a mechanical being. But if you keep your conscience and you have that personal humanity within you, as you say, you cannot leave alone destroying others. Like what they call civilized individuals, leave alone saving a human life. Even in a dead animal or animal who's hurting, if you see a bird stuck in the thing, you can go and take it out to fly away.
Mhm.
Or something that so a civilized individual is someone that who will go and save life of others beyond themselves, even a human being. So there you mentioned a very good point that the one who go and destroy other life is already lost their humanity.
Yeah.
So but keeping a humanity, I always say that being a human being is a giving, but but keeping that humanity is not giving.
Yeah, I mean, we were given the humanity,
Yes,
but we were given with a responsibility,
exactly.
and we take the gift. We're losing the battle for keeping humanity. And bottom line is human first, and that's all there is to it. Human first. So thank you so much. This has been really amazing. Hope to get to talk to you some more, and we'll continue to do this because this is also another way of learning.
Yeah, and then also there are people like you, like this platform you have now, is a very powerful. Like it's just you and me now, but you have no idea how many people will learn from this.
Absolutely.
Someone will learn, even if they learn one thing about respecting themselves, loving themselves, leave alone even the country.
Right.
We accomplish our thing. So keep what you are doing. What you are doing is a light. So the only way that when you give person a light, they can see their way where to go. You give them a dark that you make them stuck. So the darkness will hold you hostage. A light will show you the way. So keep the light.
Very powerful. Thank you. And I will listen to it again and again. And this is really, really powerful. I'm sure a whole lot of people will learn from it. So thank you. This has been really great.
You're very welcome.